That clap was fucking
That was the worst
horrible,
clap I've
dude.
ever heard.
All right, welcome home, everyone. This is the Residency Podcast. I'm Drew Belcher with Low Raven.
Hello.
Jeff Tomastic is not here this evening because he's doing more family shit.
Yeah, big family guy.
Yeah, big family guy. We're back bringing you the biggest guest stories in entertainment, business, pop culture, and sports from our studio at the Mandala Bay Sportsbook. Live on Las Vegas Strip. Make sure to subscribe, Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. This episode is brought to you by Mandala Bay. The NFL season has been crazy so far. Go Raiders. Low likes the 49ers.
Big Niner guy.
They're fucking trash. Do not forget that the Bud Light Beer Garden between the Mandalay Bay and the Luxor is the only place to enjoy the pregame and postgames for all the Raider games. Tons of incredible food, music, and big guest experiences are waiting for you there every week. If college football is more of your alley, like it is mine, go Rebels, go UNLV. Running Rebels take over the Strip on December 7th as UNLV takes on Seattle at Allegiant Stadium. If you've never been to a Park Theater at that Park MGM, then now is the time to make it happen, especially with the Foo Fighters performing on December 4th.
Foo Fighters.
Are you a Foo Fighter fan?
No. I like food.
Foo Fighters.
And I like fighters.
Let's fucking go, dude. Come see us at our studio, the Mandalay Bay Sportsbook, anytime. We have a huge guest. I'm going to get Lo right into it.
Yes.
Take it away, Lo.
Yes, man. Today we have an MMA legend, a warrior of the octagon, former UFC light heavyweight champion, UFC Hall of Famer, Sugar Rashad Evans. Welcome, man. Thank you for being here.
What's going on, Lo and Drew? I appreciate you guys having me on.
Of course,
Another
man.
guest that can kick all of our fucking asses.
10,000%.
I mean, we've had a lot of UFC fighters on the podcast. Some of them, smaller, a lot of the wrestling guys. You are not small. You're definitely our size. Can easily fuck us up for sure. We can take on some of the smaller guys that we've had on. We've had a couple girls on. We may have a chance. With you, not a fucking chance.
Yes, not a chance at all. And you know what? I'm okay with it, man. But thank you for being here.
No problem.
We're happy to have you. I want to just dive into this historical career, man. Like, you got into the UFC Hall of Fame a couple years ago.
Yeah.
An incredible achievement, right? But looking back, you fought some of the best, like the monsters that I grew up on watching in the UFC. So you started off as a wrestler, right? Was MMA just like the next evolution to what you were gonna do, or do you just wanted to like punch some dudes after you've been wrestling for so long?
Yeah, it was something that I kind of fell into. Right after I got done from college, I was coaching. I was like a high school coach, coaching JV at this school in Michigan called St. John's.
Okay.
And I was a pretty good coach, but I felt like I was a little too competitive with the kids. You know what I'm saying?
A little too rough with the little kids.
A little too rough with them. And I'm like, you know what? Let me find another outlet so I'm not trying to prove who I am. I'm not trying to prove myself when I'm trying to teach these kids.
Yeah.
And I just happened to run into somebody who was doing what it was called at the time. It was called NHB, No Holds Bar.
Okay.
And he said that he trained in this gym in Lansing, Michigan, and it was in this part of town that was kind of run down a little bit and kind of like the hood of
Sure.
Lansing, Michigan. So when I first get there, like, it was a couple days after we first initially met. Then I say like the Monday we went to the gym, and I go there and I'm like, it looks like I'm about to get robbed. Like, this shit looks dangerous, man. Like, I don't know if I should be here.
Yeah.
It was like right under like some train tracks and stuff like that, under a bridge. And I'm like, it just looked very seedy. So I go into this building. There's like an old warehouse, the John Bean building. And as I'm going up in the building, it's kind of like run down a little bit, leaky roof, and kind of like you see little rats
It's like
scurrying
out of a
off.
movie.
Yeah, super fucking dodgy.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
dodgy, right? So then we go upstairs, and there's like some little offices upstairs, right? And like these little, like, it looks just like rooms. And then we open this room, and just like the wave of funk just hit me. It just smelled like, like a
Sweat.
a sweaty, just
Just grind.
And I looked, and I seen like 6 dudes just like training in this little small ass room. It had to be probably about 12 by 9 feet, and if you're doing doing NHB or rolling around, that's not a lot of space. So only 2 guys can go at a time, while the other 2 sat back and just while the others just sat back and just watched. So that experience was like, I knew at that time, I'm like, you know what, this is what I gotta do. It was like a real life fight club. I had like,
That's wild.
It was like cops. One guy was a cop, one guy was a nurse. It was like the village people.
I mean, wait, so you walk into there and see this happening, and then you decide, yes, I want to do this?
Well,
Because if I walk in that bitch,
I'm
I'm like, nah, hard pass, I'm out.
Well,
I'm
know,
out.
but you know what? It was something so so primal and so just gritty and just real about it that I like, yo, I gotta stick around just to see like what happens, because we were just in there just like, you know, they were just in there just beating the hell out of each other. And I'm like, man,
that's wild.
I gotta try this. It was a real life.
And they're doing matches in there.
Yeah, it was like a real.
It's not just training. They're actually, people are lining up like, all right, you guys are gonna have a match. You're fighting him today.
Well, no, we weren't doing matches in there, but I mean, the way we were training, it was like, it was like, I mean, they were fighting. It was like a fight club. We were like really fighting.
That's incredible.
No, I'm walking in and I'm walking the fuck out.
It was
absolutely
it was crazy, man. But it was like, I did it, and the minute I like trained there, I was hooked. Like, it's all I could think about is NHB, no holds barred, whatever, you know. And I started, you know, going there and training, and I was working at the hospital at the time as a security guard, and I was, you know, thinking about getting one fight, and then the first fight I go to, they say, look, we can't give you one fight, but you can jump into this tournament and just do one fight and then quit after that. So I jumped into the tournament. And I did one fight, and I ended it real fast. And I'm like, damn, I didn't really get to feel it. You know what I'm saying? I got like a minute into it. So then I fought another guy, and I blazed through that guy. And I'm like, damn, I was like, you know what? I'm already here, so let me just fight the final fight, you know? And I end up winning the tournament.
Come
That's
on.
crazy.
I ended up winning the tournament on my first experience. And
that's awesome.
I mean, the money I made like, what? $300, like $100 a guy.
Wild. And in one weekend, or is it one day, the tournament?
It was one day.
One day tournament. You fight 3 fights.
You're
good.
One night.
That's crazy.
But that's how it used to be back in the day. Like, you know, I would go to these one day tournaments, and you know, you fight everybody, and one, you know, you fight like
you gotta make it through.
Yeah, you fight. You know, you keep on winning, and you know, your face gets a little beat up and stuff like that. So you have to make sure you have like I will carry like some super glue.
Yeah, because you're your own cut guy.
Yeah,
right?
I'm my own cut guy. Yeah, so like I'll super glue my eye closed if I had a cut, and then throw some grease over it, so the commission, which would be mostly like on a reservation, so it really was like no commission.
Sure.
Like you can walk, you good.
Yeah.
Going back to what you said about having like that primal instinct or primal feeling to it, do you think fighters or just people in general have to be born with something inside them that wants them to take it that route? Because like me, I don't think I could ever be like, yeah, I want to go fight and jump in the ring. I feel like I would freeze up and get my ass beat, but also freeze up. And I just don't know if it's in me. Do you think people are born with it, or they can train and develop it?
I think there's something in you that
there has to be, for sure.
There's something in you that wants that, because not a lot of people want that action.
Fuck no.
100%.
No,
and
me. No.
People don't want that action, but it's like, for me, it was always like a internal thing. It wasn't even nothing about the physical. It was just about, can I will myself to dominate this person's will and impose my will on him?
Love that.
You know, and that's what it became about. It's like, I want to impose my will on this guy, but then it became more or less about, okay, who am I? I had to start digging deep and really start, you know, because the thing about what happens in a fight is that no matter how well trained you are for your opponent, that doubt creeps in, and that fear comes there, and you have to sit there and battle yourself.
For sure.
So no matter who you fight across the cage from you, the first battle you got to win is always right here
100%.
internally.
That's ill. I love that.
Fuck, do you have that trademarked anywhere? I feel like we should write that down and trademark that. That was really good. Damn, dude.
That's awesome. That's so crazy. Speaking of tournaments, right? So you win this tournament, your career goes on a little bit more. We all become familiar with you in a different tournament, the Ultimate Fighter, right? So you won a 3-year contract with the UFC, defeating a 6'7" guy, right, in the heavyweight category. Going into that, like, why heavyweight? And why was this opportunity too great not to turn down, or how did you end up in that situation?
Well, when I was training at the small gym in Lansing, Michigan, we were beating the hell out of each other, and we were to the point where, like, you know what, we need to find some new blood.
Yeah.
So I was, at the time, fighting in the tournaments, and I was fighting in Dan Severn's tournament. Now, Dan Severn is an MMA legend.
Yep.
You know, UFC Hall of Famer, one of the pioneers of the sport. And he was training in Coldwater, Michigan.
Okay.
So we would drive to Coldwater, which was about an hour and a half from where we were, and we started training there. So once Dan got inducted to the Hall of Fame, he's like, hey, the UFC said something about this show called the Ultimate Fighter Show, and if they said it, they'll you know, if I had somebody that, you know, they'll give them a look and give them some kind of consideration. So he was like, but it's at heavyweight, and I'm just like, so I'll do it. And at the time, I was like 195 pounds.
Oh, so definitely not heavyweight.
definitely
Yeah.
weren't
Not
heavyweight.
heavyweight.
Not heavyweight.
And he was like, dude, you are 195 pounds soaking wet. There's no way you're gonna fight at heavyweight. Like, it's just not gonna happen. I'm like, no, give me time. So I worked a night shift at the hospital, and one of my good friends was a cafeteria lady. Her name was Cindy Jackson. Bless her heart, she passed a while ago. But she would just always stack me up on like mashed potatoes. And
Thinking you up a little bit.
Yeah, thinking me up. She's thinking me up to the point where I like hated food. Like every time I see her come out to the car to bring me something to eat, I'm just like,
Come on.
man, I gotta keep on eating. I gotta remember to eat. So I bulked my way up to get to be like 220 pounds. You know.
That's 30 over like walking weight.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fucking weight
And
to
it
just
wasn't.
put on.
It wasn't like real solid weight because it was
Yeah.
just like
For
I'm a
sure.
fat
It's
body.
mashed
you know?
potatoes.
Yeah.
It's mashed potatoes.
It's thick boy season, bro.
But it was enough for me to, I made a video for the UFC, introduced myself, and I sent it in, and then they gave me a call back. So then they flew me out to Vegas, and then a whole trials to get into the UFC begun. And it was kind of crazy because I almost didn't get in it because I was so small.
Yeah.
I walk into the tryouts or the meeting, because before you do the tryouts, you got to have like a meeting with the production at the time of Spike TV and Dana White and those guys.
Spike TV.
Yeah.
I remember that
Spike
shit.
TV,
Yeah.
For sure.
So Dana White, as soon as he see me, he said, "Bro, you got to be fucking kidding me. You got to be
Get this guy out of here.
fucking kidding me."
This little dude
And
with
I'm
all
like,
these monsters.
And I'm like, "What?" He says, "Bro, this is a fucking heavyweight show. You fucking little Cuba Gooding Jr. looking motherfucker. You're going to get, here's what's going to happen. You're going to get fucking taken down, and you're going to get beat up and destroyed. And I'm going to have a boring episode on my show because you're too fucking small to be here." And I'm just like, now, I never heard so many F-bombs in my life in a job interview. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And I'm just
crazy.
coming from college, so I'm just like, damn, how do I change this around? And I was quick on my feet, and I was like, look, I understand where you're coming from. I said, but when heavyweights were heavyweights, they weren't big and cumbersome. They were small and compact, like Mike Tyson.
Yep.
You know, like Muhammad Ali. Those guys were like 210, 215, 217, you know?
Yeah.
Not the
That's-
280 shit you
not
see
the
today.
280 shit.
Yeah.
Like, these guys were moving. And I said, I want to bring the excitement back into heavyweight. So that was the line.
That
was
his
the
eyes
line.
produced it.
That was the
Excitement.
line, yeah.
Heavyweight. Yeah, I love that. That's
like
incredible,
that.
man. Do you think it's harder for somebody going to, right? So you just said you were a wrestler, right? You think it's harder to transition to MMA from a wrestler's background or more of like a boxing background?
More of a boxing background.
For sure.
Okay.
More
I would
of a
agree.
boxing background because every fight always ends or always goes to some kind of
Sometime.
situation where you're
Yep.
locked up. And the thing about it is, like, yeah, the boxers got hands and their head as far as like technically speaking with the X's and O's with the hands, but that if you miss and he grab a hold of you, it's
What are you gonna do on the floor?
what you gonna do on the floor, man. You
Yeah.
gotta be but when you know how to wrestle, it's easier to teach a wrestler how to strike than
Sure.
teach a boxer how to wrestle.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. That's crazy. 100%. I agree with you. 100%.
Yeah.
So now you're in the UFC, right? You won the Ultimate Fighter, right?
Yeah.
Your career's taking a launch, right? You've signed. You're there. Most people fight smaller name fighters on the way to a title shot. You face some of the biggest and the baddest ever. Some names like Michael Bisping, Tito Ortiz, Chuck Liddell, and that's all before you got your title shot, right? Like, was this because the sport was just coming up and there were just these guys that they were pulling from different places, or was everybody at that time just a badass?
Everybody at the time was just a badass.
Yeah.
Badass
The
motherfuckers.
competition-
Everyone.
The competition was just very, very stiff at the time, and in order to really make a name in that space, you had to be willing to fight anybody who they put in front of you. Like, you weren't saying no to shit. You weren't turning down any fights.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, this is who I gotta fight. And at the time, I was training at Jackson's gym with Keith Jardine, Nate Marquardt, Diego Sanchez,
That's great. Right there.
Michael Van Arsdale, Joey Villasenor, all these great fighters. And, Greg Jackson was so intricate in really just forming my mindset to just be ready to fight anybody, because
That's
he would kick our asses in training. Like, he'll do things like there is these mountains in Albuquerque, New Mexico called the Sandia Mountains.
Okay.
And what we'll do, we'll go all the way up to the mountains, which will go up to about like 12,000, 13,000 feet, really high up there.
Shit.
And we'll do like these buddy carries. And these buddy carries, it's like you're holding somebody like you're walking over walking over the broomstick, right, with your lady, right? So you're carrying them like that. And on the side of us, probably about like maybe another 2.5 feet, there was like an edge.
Oh no,
where
Mal.
you're like, where you're just like, if you,
no, bro, no.
It was like the movie Talladega Nights.
Yeah.
Remember when Ricky Bobby's dad came and he was like, if you can survive a tire.
Yes.
That's how Greg Jackson was like, well, if you can survive the mountain, then you should be able to fight anybody, you know? He was like,
You cannot fall off with your
or you can fall and die.
Yeah.
You choose.
But that's what he wanted us to. He wanted us to. He was so into the Japanese Bushido when it came to the mindset of making death your best friend, like being friends with your best, making death like something that you looked forward to, you know. And he'll tell us stories about how, you know, samurais, you know, would always just think about death all the time, and it was just, you know, but it was more or less about making yourself be willing to go where your opponent wouldn't go. Because the truth of the matter is, when you're out there fighting, there's a point where it gets like you're getting your ass kicked and you're getting beat up, and you're like, I don't know how much I can take. But then you look over and you see the look in a guy's eyes, and you're just like, I got a little more to go, because he thinks he's about to break me, you know?
But I think all athletes call that like the switch, right? There's always a little switch, or there's something that happens that propels you to the next level. What's the other word for it, right? It's like your second win.
That
it's
zone.
Like it's this little, or a zone, exactly.
Yeah.
And I love that, man. I think true professional athletes that are like in their prime, they know how to get to that place. They find that little piece and they go, all right, that's going to take me over the edge. I love that. That's incredible.
How important is it training your mind, going back to, you know, the mental aspect of everything, you know, doing the mountain and the climbers and everything, and you see some of these other crazy fighters coming up, these Russian fighters, for example, training in this ice cold water with the tides coming and holding crazy bags. How important is that mental aspect in fighting that can give you an advantage over your opponent?
It's everything. It's everything. And I say that because it's like during training, it's 90% physical and 10% mental. But when it comes to fight week, the night before the fight, it becomes 90% mental and 10% physical.
Okay.
You know, because the cake is baked. What's in there is in there, you know?
Yeah.
But now you have to just harness your mind to believe it. And you have to ride that emotional roller coaster, you know, where you have that doubt seeping in, where you may feel a little bit afraid. Then you may feel a little overconfident. And you can have that range in a span of seconds just from seeing something. You can walk by, see something on, you know, on a flyer, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, wait, tomorrow I gotta fight. Oh my god, wait, oh my god, you know, and like you feel that feeling. Like there's times where, you know, you're there, you know, right before you walk out. That walk is a motherfucker, man, because you're there and you're just like, you're looking in the crowd and you're just like, damn, I'm waiting for this version of me to go away and Sugar Rashad Evans to kick in. You know what I'm saying? Because Rashad, I'm a peaceful guy. I'm quiet. I'm kind of passive. You know what I'm saying? I'm very laid back, very cool. But Sugar is the entertainer. Sugar likes the attention. Sugar likes 100%. To go out there and show his shit, you know? So I would always just wait for that moment where I would just zone out and just become Sugar. And then once Sugar was in there, oh my God, he just knew what to do. He knew how to walk. 100%. He knew how to pose in front of the cameras. He knew how to give that look. He knew how to have that position where people never knew how I was feeling internally. You know what I'm saying? Gave me the perfect bravado. And I remember something that, like, my coach in football back in high school, his name was Alan Pogo, he would always say, you know, guys, if you act enthusiastic, you'll become enthusiastic. So sometimes when I wasn't feeling it, I would just act that way. And then before I know it, I really felt that way. And it was like, I'm here.
Yeah, for sure. You know? I love that. Where's the Sugar Rashad name come from? Right? It is the persona, 100%, right? We all have seen it in the octagon and all the clips. Where does that come from?
Mike Van Arsdale. Mike Van Arsdale was one of my training partners and one of the best coaches that I ever had a chance to work with, a genius in a coaching game. And he's like, hey, Evs, look, man, you had a good sparring session today, man. You was out there moving like Sugar Ray Robinson or something, man. Shit, we gonna start calling you Sugar, man. You know.
I love that. That's sick. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man. And it just stuck for sure.
And
then
stuck,
it became
man.
the whole persona.
Yeah, it
right?
became the whole persona. Like, and I kind of needed that persona because the truth of like, one thing that makes a fighter suffer when he have a setback is like, it's the person who suffers, right? But it's like when I lose or when I have a setback, it was easy for me to be like, all right, you know, to separate the two between Rashad Evans and Sugar. You know what I'm saying? And then having those two personas allowed me to, you know, have more of a balance in my normal life. You know what I'm saying? Like, and not be Sugar. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you know, and be Rashad when I need to be Rashad with the family and things like that, and not be that cocky, braggadocious, talk shit to anybody type of person.
For sure. That's it.
But Sugar sold fights.
Sugar sold fights.
Sugar sold fights.
But you know, it's crazy because Sugar had just a way about him that, you know, it wasn't even something that it was planned. It was just kind of something that was kind of a part of my personality, like a latent part of my personality, like
sure.
you know, and
It
we
was
all
always
have
there.
it. We all
got a little piece
we all
of that.
got
for
a little
sure.
piece of it.
That's awesome. So in 08, right, you finally have this title shot. You beat Forrest Griffin. You finally become the champ. What does that feel like to get to the pinnacle of the sport, right? And secondary to that, Sugar won the fight, but Rashad gets to wear the belt around after too. So what does that feel like for both sides?
It was surreal, man. It was one of the most unbelievable experiences that I had because of the fact that like I went out there and I conquered and I did it. You know, I did it when so many people didn't even think that I had a chance to even.
You weren't
compete at
supposed
a
to
level.
really even get the title
I
shot.
wasn't even supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I wasn't even supposed to be there.
No.
And there I was winning it, and it was unbelievable. It was so unbelievable. It was like the highest I ever felt without taking any drug. I was so high after winning that fight, just off of that natural energy. I didn't need to eat any food. I didn't want to drink any alcohol, partake in any kind of like any drugs or anything like that. It was just like I was totally just content to just sit there and just be like, damn, I really did that.
And take it all in.
Yeah.
At a time when there's so many monsters, yourself including, involved not only in the sport, but in that weight class.
Yeah.
Some crazy guys in that weight
and
class.
I've always been a little dude. I've always been the smallest guy in the weight class. You know, I've always been one of the runts, you know, and to go out there and to beat these guys who are bigger than me and physically more dominant than me and have better technique and can do all these things better than me, but yet I was still winning.
Yeah. It's like pure euphoria.
I mean, even
Right?
going back
Yeah.
to like the Chuck Liddell fight, you weren't supposed to win that fight.
No.
You were put in that fight to, I think, may probably lose and Chuck Liddell get the title fight.
Absolutely.
But you won the fight. You knocked out Chuck. One of the most fucking brutal knockouts, by the way, probably in the history. Is that your most memorable fight, beating Chuck Liddell?
Yeah, it was, and not only because of the way it ended. I mean, like, Chuck Liddell's an amazing human being.
Sure.
And like, I got to know him more afterwards, and we kind of, you know, developed a friendship over the years, and I love the guy, you know, a good guy. But that night, man, it was a very special night because going into the fight, people did not give me a chance at all, like to the point where the reporters are almost kind of like lightweight disrespectful, like, okay, like what, like really, they were kind of asking like, what have you done to really earn this opportunity to fight Chuck Liddell?
Theory's like, why are you here?
And I'm just like, damn, I haven't even earned the opportunity to fight Chuck. So when I went out there to fight him, I was cool, like leading up to it as far as like in training camp. But when fight week happened, like the day before the fight, nerves just hit me, and like the spectacle of it all hit me. And I remember having like a little panic anxiety attack, and I just hit up Randy Couture, who happened to be in the same hotel and was like one floor down from where I was. And I'm like, Randy, can I come see you? And I come and see him, and then I go to his room, and I'm like, he opens the door. He's like, hey, Rashad, what's up? And I'm like, oh, man, I'm fucking scared.
I gotta go fight fucking Chuck
I'm
Liddell,
laying
damn
down
it.
on this bed, and he's looking at me. I'm just like, oh, my God, man, what am I going to do? And I'm like, oh, my gosh. And he's like,
That's
okay.
incredible.
He said, okay. All right. He said, you know what? I know what's wrong. He said, I was like, what's up? He says, you haven't made friends with the worst outcome yet. He said, you need to make friends with the worst outcome. And you need to understand that no matter what happens tomorrow, your family's still going to love you. The sun is still going to rise. And you'll have another chance to do this. And it won't be the end. It'll be a new beginning in so many different ways. And the only good can happen from this because no matter what, you're going to grow. Randy gave me some sage advice. I just
That's wild,
hung on to me, just hung on in almost every aspect of my life, And I remember going back to my room after that talk, like really just like pumped up and just like I looked in the mirror and I was just like, yeah, Randy, you're right. And I just started looking in the mirror saying, you know what? I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. Over and over and over again, to the point
That's
where I
ill.
like work myself up into a fury, like I don't give a fuck. Just screaming in the mirror, like say I don't give a fuck. And what I was saying that for was because I was saying I don't give a fuck about all the things that made me feel that way about being afraid. It wasn't about none of that. It was just about going out there and just truly expressing myself. And then the next day I walked out to Immortal Technique, The Point of No Return.
The song.
Yeah, the
Okay,
song.
okay, yeah,
Immortal
yeah,
Technique,
yeah, okay.
The Point of No Return. And in that song, he has a line. He says, "The place that you're from doesn't exist anymore." And I knew I knew going into this fight that I will forever be changed.
You're crossing that threshold.
Crossing
whatever it was.
I'm
Yeah.
crossing the threshold. So I just like fully embraced it, whatever it was, and I had an amazing performance.
Oh, that's so sick.
But
Yeah,
that,
and-
to me, was the highlight. Of the
Okay,
fight.
I love that. I mean, because looking at it from a fan who watched that fight, who followed that fight, you weren't supposed to win that fight.
No,
And you
not
fucking
at all.
destroyed that fight and did a phenomenal job.
For
Thank
sure,
you, man.
for
Yeah,
sure.
even Mike Winklejohn, my striking coach at the time, I was nervous, and you always do like a little shakeout before you fight, and I'm doing a shakeout and I'm hitting my overhand right left hook, and then I was hitting it really just like blasting it, and then he says, you know what's gonna happen? I said, what? He said, you're gonna hit him with this combination and you're gonna knock him out, and I'm not gonna be able to get into the cage and congratulate you. And I'm like, yeah, you think so? He said, I guarantee it. And I'm like, okay. No shit, it happened exactly how it had
That's so
said. And I look at him and it's
wild.
like, what? Who are you?
You literally just predicted that.
Yo,
Yeah, that's wild.
predicted it all.
That's awesome.
I mean, and again, Chuck Liddell was known for striking, and you were coming up known as a wrestler, but you got some fucking hands too.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people who are interested in UFC, they look at the wrestlers like, oh, he wants to take it to the ground. He doesn't have hands. Sugar had hands. Sugar showed he had hands.
He showed
I
it.
had
Yeah,
hands. Yeah, I had hands, man. I did, man. It was
That's awesome.
it became one of those things though, like I fell in love a little too much with the hands. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And got away from that
The
base
roots, yeah.
because it was the mix that made the hands even more deadly because
They were fearing that you were going to take him down, too. Yeah.
because I was just so tenacious about getting that takedown.
Yep.
I'll take him down over and over again tirelessly because I was still so connected with my collegiate wrestling
Yeah.
that taking these dudes down that didn't really understand wrestling was like easy.
Yeah,
easy,
yeah.
For sure. That's dope. So we've talked to Super Bowl champions. We've talked to fighters. We've talked to hoopers, right? Everybody says nothing compares to the walkout, right? So Super Bowl's going on, fireworks going off, going crazy. The walkout to a UFC octagon on a championship night, right? What else can you compare that to for guys like us, average Joes, that have never had that experience? What can you compare it to?
What can I compare it to? Going down a roller coaster at the very top. You're at the top, and you just when the bottom drop, you feel
okay.
that your stomach drop.
Yeah.
That feeling in your stomach. That's what it feels.
And that
like.
surge of energy.
And that surge
you
of
get from
energy
it?
you get, and you just like you have an overwhelming amount of emotions at that time, right? Just
Yeah.
racing through your body, and you can't sort it out, and you can't make sense of it.
Yeah.
But you're conscious, and you're so aware, and you're hyper focused because you're in that zone. You're
Yeah.
about to get into that zone, and it's like at that time, everything slows down. Your senses become different than you're used to them being different. They become heightened.
Yeah.
They lights, they're not only bright, they have like a volume. They're loud.
You can
You
hear
know what I'm
them.
saying? You can hear the lights.
That's cool.
You know what I'm saying? It's that kind of focus that happens. Like when you're like, there's times where I got to the cage and I'm throwing a punch, and I'm like, man, I'm feeling slow as shit tonight. You know, and I see a punch he's throwing, I'm like, man, he's never gonna hit me going that slow.
That's it.
And then I
It's like
watch
the Matrix,
it.
yo.
Then I watch it on TV, and I'm like, whoa, it was moving fast. But when I was out there, it was moving so slow because your body, in that when you're in that zone, it slows down everything, like being in a car accident. You know how it just kind of goes in slow motion? It's like that the whole time.
Damn.
I feel like so many athletes who have been in that situation, they try to chase that feeling afterwards, and they usually all have the same responses. There's not a lot to compare it to.
No.
I do like the reference to the roller coaster because a lot of us, pretty much everyone has ridden a roller coaster.
that's really
and in
good.
that initial drop, that stomach feeling, it's like that feeling that the entire time as you're walking to the cage.
Yep.
That's
It's like-
fucking insane. That's a great reference.
That's a
though.
great reference. I love that. Man.
I'm
You
gonna
put-
go fucking ride a roller
Yeah, I was
coaster
gonna say-
right after this.
Somebody say my name while I'm going down the roller
I'm
coaster.
telling you, and then it's crazy because you'll be there, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the craziest shit I've ever felt in my life. And then you'll look over, and then you'll see Joe Blow from Idaho just like busting down,
Yeah, a
throwing
beer.
his
Yeah.
beer, like,
Slamming
"Hey!"
fucking brewskis with the boys.
And then you're just like, damn, I want to be this guy real. I don't
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
for a second, because it's like there's so much pressure. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
for
It's like,
sure.
I bet he's having a blast because
Yeah.
right now
He don't.
I'm not having fun. I feel sick. I feel sick.
I love it, man. I love it. So you've obviously fought in Vegas, right? You've won here in Vegas. How different is it fighting in Vegas or competing in Vegas than it is in any other city?
Vegas just has an energy that no place has. Like it just has a energetic feeling that is kind of irreplaceable any other place that you go. To be honest, you know, when you come here, you just like right now, I'm feeling a little bit anxiety because I'm at the Mandala Bay and I fought here many times, and I made that walk to the arena to go get ready for the fight many times, and I've seen the posters of me all throughout this place
It's crazy.
many times. So when I'm here right now, I know I'm here right now, but a part of me is here back then.
Sure,
And
sure.
I still kind of feel that. So it's something that you will always feel like a smell will bring back a memory.
Oh, all the time.
And that's what I'm feeling right now. So it's one of the craziest things in the world, but Vegas is like no place other. Like I was born as a fighter here in Vegas.
Nice.
Damn, I love that.
I love that. That's incredible. Man. Well, we love you here, man.
Thank you.
For sure. So we've learned that you've gone vegan,
Yeah,
right? And that's
yeah.
part of the lifestyle now, which is incredible. Are there some Vegas places that you love to eat at that have vegan meals, or that you'd like to go to out here while you're here?
Well, I mean, I haven't really found any really. I mean, I just been like, you know, I'll make it. There's a couple places that I have like what is it? Was it Skinny
Fast?
Skinny Fast. Yeah, they got some
Skinny
vegan
Fast
shit
got-
on the menu for
Yeah.
sure.
Skinny Fast got some good stuff.
Yeah.
But nowadays, a lot of places they are really, very complimentary for
100%
you know,
everywhere.
yeah, for the
Yeah.
diet. So, you know, a lot of places here have some, but my friend told me that he's going to take me out to a place later on to go and
Awesome.
check out some nice vegan food.
That's
What made
incredible.
you want to be vegan? I have to ask that
Oh, man.
because you weren't always vegan, correct?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
I wasn't. Psychedelics, man.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I had a trip, a really deep trip, like one of those trips where it was a conversation with me and God, and it was like one of the most pivotal moments in my life. And it was like, it specifically told me, it says that because I was tripping like maybe probably about a 4-hour trip I'm deep into.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was
You're down
showing-
the hole.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
deep down the rabbit
Yeah.
hole, man. And it was a mushroom ceremony, so we had moderators and stuff like there, making
For
sure
sure.
it was safe,
Of
a
course.
safe space. But I was so deep in it, and this knowingness came over me and just says, you feel like shit because you eat shit. You eat rotting flesh. If you want life, you have to eat life. And I was like, that was really weird.
Who the
and
fuck
very
just said
vivid.
that?
Yeah.
And at the same time, when I was having that knowingness hit me, it was coming with like a visualization of just like of of what I needed to do and why I needed to do it. So it was like a crazy download. I'm just like, what was that? And after I got out of that whole trip, I just like kept thinking like, why would I think that out of that? Like, why would that come to me out of everything? But after that, slowly I lost my ability to my taste for meat.
Really?
To the point where I'll eat some meat and I will get like sick.
Wow.
And then I'm like, man, I can't even eat meat anymore if I wanted to. So then I just stopped eating it.
That's crazy. It's insane. Like, that's awesome. That's so cool. Was that after your career or was that
after my career?
Okay, got it.
After my career. Like after my career, so my last 5 fights were just complete, like dog shit. I wasn't me.
Sure.
I came back from knee injury, but I never really came back, because a part of me just was broken in a sense.
Yeah.
It was broken, and it happens. Like sometimes I felt like I lost that love that I had for the sport, and fighting was one of those things that would come so natural to me. It was almost as if like it allowed that dark passenger inside of me to just really fully get out and blossom. But then, I use a lot of things in my life as motivation, as far as troubles in relationships and troubles in my life that I carry with me as motivation to fight. But through fighting, I've learned, in having those problems, I worked through them. I worked through those issues, and I worked through those that fuel that I thought was inexhaustible, that was full of rage and full of all those things that allowed me to just tap into it in a minute and just become a fucking animal. And then over time, I healed, and I healed to the point where I didn't I kind of lost a feeling for fighting, you know what I'm saying? And I just didn't have it anymore. So when I was going through that transition, when I was like, man, you just lost 5 fights you shouldn't have lost, and that was never something I could never even imagine happening. And I'm like, I needed to really, have that, as they say, come to Jesus moment with myself, And I was like, man, I need to really figure out like what's the next step for me, because I don't want to retire just because I feel I need to, or just because I'm having this moment right now. I want to know if this full moment is real. So I did a ceremony, this toad ceremony.
Oh, we've heard about those.
The DMT shit?
The DMT.
Okay, let's talk about it.
MEO, DMT, and it was this is the most powerful entheogen in the world, and entheogens are psychedelics.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's the most powerful one in the world. And a lot of the entheogens, they give you a experience, but you still have that sense of duality, like it's me and other, right? With 5-MeO, it's just you, and you find your connection with this ocean of consciousness that lies in us all, inside of us all. That it's that place that when in the Bible said the kingdom of heaven is inside, it truly is. And it's one of the last place that you will even think to look, and you wouldn't even believe it. I couldn't even really articulate to you the experience and what this place is inside of us. But it's just an ocean of consciousness, and when you feel it, you understand more about existence and more about what you really are and what this experience truly is. And when I was in that experience, I started to have like these downloads start to come to me really fast, and almost as if like I'm remembering. And it was like the first thing that happened, because you smoke the toad, right? You smoke it, and it looks like fish scales. What it is, it's secretions from the back of a toad, because like you see a toad, that if they get bothered by an animal, they start like producing stuff on their back. So if the animal puts it in their mouth, then they get foam in their mouth, and they may die. So what they do is they massage the glands, and they pop it, and they push it onto like a little glass, and then they scrape it off, and then you smoke that. And when you smoke it, when you let out the air, it's like your soul leaves your body.
Let's go. Let's
and
go.
You're gone. Like you're gone. It felt as if like I went to the place where I'm really at, and it didn't really feel as if like, it felt as if like that was reality and this was the dream.
Yo.
We're currently just living in the dream, and that's reality. I fucking love that. Fuck, I wish we had some mushrooms or something right now.
Mind-boggling.
That's incredible, man. Like,
I watched Mike Tyson, or listened to Mike Tyson talk about it a little bit on one of his podcasts, and it's fucking crazy. And he says the exact same thing. He loves it so much that he has to not do it because he loves it so much.
Well, I mean, Mike Tyson is like Mike is on another level with his
Oh,
toad
yeah.
experience. Like Mike uses the toad as like a reminder. Like he'll do it like probably every few months, you know, and that helps him to like, you know, not have to be on lithium or any other kind of psycho medications to really balance out, you know, some of the issues that come along with with being Mike Tyson for so long. You know what I'm saying? But the toad, it brings him down to a base where it humbles him, because that toad, when you feel that space, you understand that the connection that we truly have with each other is so intimate, it's so deep, and it's so connecting. Like it sounds crazy, but we are in essence the same. And it sounds crazy when people say we're all the same. No, we truly are the same, and we have these bodies to have this physical experience. But at the end of the day, we belong to this consciousness that it's like a universal, like, ocean of consciousness that we all have become one drop of that ocean and had this experience in life. Like, for instance, I like this analogy, like okay, the ocean, it evaporates, it goes up into the clouds, the clouds move somewhere else, and then it produces precipitation, and that one droplet falls, and wherever that one droplet falls, it becomes, you know, if a droplet falls on, you know, on a tree, it becomes part of that system, and it will do that process over and over again, but it'll have that experience of being a tree. One time it may fall, it may be on a concrete. One time it may fall, it may be on someone's skin. But it's having all these different experiences as life. But eventually, one day, that drop is going to make its way back to the ocean. And it's going to realize that, damn, I was never a drop at all. I was always the ocean.
Oh, wow. Full circle.
Full circle. And that's what we are.
You know what I love? I love the way that you describe your experiences, right? It's connected to kind of everything that's going on, like, truly in your life, right? Like, when you say you had this experience that was made me vegan, but also that was the time where you stopped being in the octagon. You were no longer that animal eating the flesh of other guys, right? You're truly turning over a new leaf.
Absolutely,
right? And then that kind of was yourself speaking to yourself, like, hey, this is what's next. This is the next where you need to be. And it in essence, encapsulated your whole body. You couldn't feel that way anymore. You didn't want to feel that anymore. You didn't want to eat that anymore. I love that, man. It kind of brings everything, like you said, full circle. That's awesome.
And it was a transition that was happening that I didn't really understand. But the thing about it is that what I had to learn is that life has plans, the creator, whatever you want to call it, and you just got to go with it, you know. And the hardest part for me was to not fight it. To not fight that what isness, that's happening to me, because there was an isness that was happening, but I didn't understand what it was, you know. And I was transitioning. I was coming out of my cocoon, and I was emerging a different kind of butterfly. You know what I'm saying? And it was something that I never would have foreseen. It was something that I didn't even really know that was in me before, because before to even hear somebody talking like this, I'm like, oh, it's foo-foo.
Smoking toad. What is he talking about?
I was like, it didn't have any interest to me. But then, you know, it just kind of like having where I am right now just kind of showed me so much, and I would have never, ever foreseen this happening in my life.
It's incredible, man. It's super.
How is the transition, you know, going from being a full-time fighter? That's what you did to provide. That's how you survived. How is that transition going from that to now just a normal, regular person where you have to do something else?
It was a hard transition.
Yeah, we talked to many fighters. We had Uriah Faber on here, and he
yeah.
said the same thing.
It's a very hard transition because, like, no matter how humble you try to be, it seeps in. The patting on the back, the let me get your autograph, let me take a picture, all those things, being told you're so great, everybody wanting to be around you, it just kind of like seeps in. And when it's over years and years and years, it just kind of like becomes, you know, who you are in a sense, until it's not who you are. And then when you have that experience, you're just like, oh, wow, okay, so these people really just like me because of that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that right there is a hurtful part, because
It's tough.
people you wouldn't even expect being there for that, they may be there for that. And the realization of who's on that list, it was a heartbreaking discovery, you know, because it was something you would have never thought or foreseen or anything like that. It was just like, wow, okay, now I get it. And it leaves you in a space like, damn, what was it even all about?
What was it really for? Yeah.
What was it even all about?
I
But
hear you.
finding my way back and finding my way through all of it was a very humbling experience. But I needed it. I needed that humbling.
Yeah.
I needed it because it's the only way that I could go back to relating to people that didn't do the same things that I did, you know?
for sure.
I needed to be able to relate. I needed to understand. So I needed to get broke down. I needed to be humbled.
I feel like a lot of men need that too. You know, I feel like as men, as providers, you know, I have a 1-year-old son at home, and we always have that, like, that machismo, like we have to be that macho, egotistical alpha male at all times. And just coming back down to reality and just accepting yourself, I think that means a lot, and it speaks volume. And do you credit any of that to psychedelics?
I credit a lot of it to psychedelics. And because here's why I credit to psychedelics. You know, life is about perspective.
Sure.
And sometimes that perspective, it takes time. It takes a long time to get sometimes, you know, because you can't see the picture when you're that close. But the psychedelics, it makes your brain start to think a different way. It breaks out of that thinking pattern that has, you know, given you that perspective, and it puts you in another frame of mind, where then now you're able to actually look and see. I'm like, oh, I couldn't see this perspective before because my train of thought. You know, we think the same way over and over again. That's why they say, you know, if you don't use it, you lose it. In some aspects of us, our brains, we do lose because we're doing the same repetitive thing all the time. But this, it takes you out of that, where you're able to see different aspects of yourself, sometimes favorable, sometimes unfavorable. But at the end of the day, you get a perspective, and that perspective, it's a shortcut to the time it would take for you to get that perspective. Because in life, if you ask the question enough and you're diligent enough about asking a question, eventually you'll find the answer.
For sure.
But it may take some time. It may take you hitting your head a few times. It may take some growing pains. But the psychedelics definitely gave me a shortcut to the perspective I needed.
I feel like you probably have to be included and involved in like a super small circle of close friends that can kind of introduce you. It's probably not just like a Google search, right? Like Google fucking.
Yeah, and it has to be in a safe space.
Yeah, you know, like, I mean, mushrooms, a little more easily accessible than fucking toad, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, here's the thing about the psychedelic space is like, if you want to learn and you want to truly get into it, there's ways, and there's a whole community that's looking to be there to support you. And that's the best thing that made me truly fall in love with the community, is the fact that these people, they're so accepting, and
Sure.
they understand, you know, they understand, and they try to go out of their way sometimes because they understand what it's like to be in the dark and not have the understanding of the light of who you are. And they walk you through it. So if people are interested, they reach out and find,
there's
for
ways.
Sure. There's definitely
Sure. There's ways. You got
ways. But the thing about it is that you want to be able to make sure that you do it in a safe way, because there are dangers to not doing it the correct way, and there's ways that you may not get out of it what I'm speaking about if you're not doing it
The right way.
in a way where you're with people who can walk you through it, if with people who can sit with you, help you when you're going through that dark moment that may happen when you trip. People like, oh, I had a bad trip. Well, it's not a bad trip. It may just get a little uncomfortable at times, but if you have somebody sitting with you, then when you get into that space, you're like, hey, I'm feeling a certain kind of way, and then they'll be there to, you can talk to them, and then sure as shit, you come out of it.
Yeah.
So it's very important to be able to get connected with some kind of community, and it's like I'm so into the whole psychedelic space. Like
I fucking love it. I did not plan on talking about this.
Yeah, but
this is
is
fucking
rad.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Like I'm part of this group called Unlimited Sciences, and Del Jolly, one of the founders, and Heather Jackson, another one of the founders. They're my they're the ones who kind of brought me into the whole psychedelic space. But with Unlimited Sciences, what we want to do is we want to help, make research and help develop more ways for people to learn about psychedelics and learn about ways that it can be helpful, and the beautiful things that psychedelics are doing, as far as from even, not only speaking from a mental aspect, but from a neurological aspect. There's people, I have a friend of mine who started walking again after a skiing accident.
Oh, come on.
Severed his spine, had a very bad spine injury, learned to start walking again because of a psychedelic trip. He had a psychedelic trip, was at a concert, super depressed. His buddy gave him a psychedelic. He did it, and next thing you know, he was feeling his feet, he was feeling his legs, he was feeling things he haven't felt in a long time, and it was like, and the person's like, whoa, when were you able to move that? And he's like, guess just now. So we started doing his therapy sessions
true therapy.
on psychedelics, and it rewired his whole body, because the thing about it is that it's such neurogenesis and the neuroplasticity that happens. And with neurogenesis, it's helping the neurological system in the body to reboot, and not only reboot, to rebuild itself. If there's like a block, it finds a way to get around that block, and it builds neurological pathways to get to work in neurological pathways, and that's where the true value of this medicine come. We live in a time right now where getting old is nothing more than accumulation of just neurological disorders, right?
Sure,
You
sure.
lose your ability to move, and
Yep.
you have Alzheimer's and all those things. That's because of the accumulation of all these environmental toxins and things like that really start to hamper our neurological system as we get older.
Sure.
When you do the psychedelics, and you do not only the psychedelics in general, not only the mushrooms, the psilocybin mushrooms, but like when you do like the lion's mane and all the other mushrooms, they also help and have a huge neurological benefit as well too. After I get done from sparring, I have a hard day and I may feel a little concussed or something like that, I'll do some lion's mane and some psilocybin, like a microdose.
Yeah.
So that way it gets me tracking again fast again.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are huge on the microdosing. A lot of people are huge on microdosing. It's so many benefits. Take that, Big Pharma.
Yeah, I'm telling you. So I mean, like I'm part of this. Myself, my buddy Del Jolly, and Jake the Snake Plumber.
Jake the Snake.
Come on.
Jake the
Jake the
Snake.
Snake Plumber.
Oh shit.
We're starting this functional mushroom company, not to be confused with psychedelics, but functional mushrooms, as far as like lion's manes, cordyceps, reishi, turkey tail, and chaga, and those kind of mushrooms.
For like recovery.
For
and things
like recovery.
Yeah.
So we started a mushroom company. It's called Umbo, and it's set to launch within the next month or so.
Oh, quick! It's coming
Yeah.
up.
So
Yeah, we're gonna plug that for sure.
For
Yeah,
sure.
I'm
so
fucking gonna order a
it's
bunch.
Umbo, and the Umbo is it means, you know, if you see a mushroom, the bell top.
Yep.
Okay.
That's called the numbo.
Okay.
So that's where we get the name Umbo from. But, you know, with this mushroom company, we want to do some good in the world. We want to be able to, you know, reach back for people, you know, donate a part of our proceeds to mental health, because mental health is something that, for me, it is near and dear to my heart. You know what I'm saying? I've suffered from mental health issues as far as, you know, dealing with depression and dealing with that roller coaster of emotion that comes from being in the position that I was in. So I'm very, very into that. And, you know, we're coming from a time with COVID where, you know, it's very depressing. This is very
100%.
depressing times,
Absolutely.
and the things that we're dealing with right now are very depressing. So having a piece of Umbo go to help with mental health issues is something that we're very proud of.
That's incredible.
And we haven't even seen the real effects yet. You know, we had Robin Leonard, the goalie for the Golden Knights, on the podcast, and he's, you know, diagnosed bipolar. You know, but he's very open up about mental health awareness, and he says we haven't even really seen the effects of COVID with the mental disorders and everything.
Yeah.
Totally agree, man. Like, we have a whole generation growing up thinking that this is normal.
100%.
And it's not.
You know,
Yeah.
And it's not.
It's not. You know, the world has changed in a way that is truly unrecognizable in so many different ways. You know,
Yeah.
but through this change, we cannot lose our humanity. And I feel
Absolutely.
like right now, we're hanging on by a string to keep our humanity, and it's one of the scariest things, because there's this transition and this push to merge man with AI and all these different technological aspects. But the phone hasn't made my life better. It's made it more complicated. It's made it more disconnected. And I can imagine the next series of technology will make this connection even more.
The metaverse, you know,
Yeah,
playing
the
around in
metaverse.
like virtual realities
We're
and
get-
buying
we're
fake
getting-
real estate and shit. Yeah.
And it's so crazy because we're in a space right now where we're getting close together in one aspect, right? Being able to see into each other's lives, being able to contact each other whenever we need to, but at the same time, the distance that we're growing from each other
It's even more. Yep.
is getting even further, getting even more. You know,
Absolutely.
we don't talk anymore. We don't look each other in the eye anymore.
No.
You know, all these things that were just natural, innate things that are just now not even part of.
They don't exist
They
anymore.
don't exist.
They don't exist.
You know,
For sure.
it's unbelievable what's happening.
It's a different world. It
It's a
literally
different
is.
world, but I believe that, you know, I believe that we can get through this, but it's not going to be without any pain.
No, of course.
There's going to be a lot of pain that goes along with it, and as somebody who understands pain, who truly embraced pain and love to feel pain, to know, because there's something on the other side of pain that is just so transformative, that is so beautiful, that makes going through pain worth it. But when you're afraid to go through that pain, you're never able to see what's on the other side of it. But we got to go through that pain in order to see that
get
beauty
there.
what's on the other side.
Yep.
I
Absolutely.
feel like you got to write a fucking book or something, man. There's some heater quotes.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
just gonna
hot.
fucking
I love
write
it.
them all down.
So a couple things, right? We've seen Rashad on the media, right? We know this event's or this new company's coming. What else is on the horizon for Sugar Rashad Evans? What's next for you, man?
Man, I'm launching an NFT.
Okay.
Let's
I'm-
go.
Let's go.
I'm launching an NFT.
As we just talked shit about becoming more disconnected.
Yeah. I mean,
Fuck us.
hey,
Yeah.
There we go.
no, I'm making an NFT. You know.
Okay.
Okay.
I started drawing, and I want to I'm in the process.
So it's gonna be some of your art.
Yes, my art.
that's
Oh, wow. Okay, we didn't even talk about you being an
That's
artist.
sick. Okay.
I'm drawn.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm drawn.
That would all come. That would make sense. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm
Sick.
drawing it, and it was something like, I watched the NFT space, kind of blow up, and
Yep.
I was kind of had little interest, and at the time, I didn't really think it was going to be too much, but then as time went on, I'm like, man, this is something serious. The more I looked into it, I'm like,
Yeah.
it's very interesting, and then it kind of aligned with the part of myself that I kind of put on a back burner, because one of my favorite things to do in the world is just completely get lost in drawing. I would get lost and I would just draw for hours and hours and hours, and it was like my escape from reality.
Wow.
Like, it's just amazing just to sit here and look at a piece of paper drawn, and then the mind goes completely blank, and I'm like, whoa, I lost all track of time, I lost track of thought, and I'm just in the moment, and I'm just there.
Yeah.
I'm
that
just,
creative side of you is just
I'm
existing and doing what it's doing.
Yeah, and I'm just there, and it's just such a beautiful space. And I started to get back into it. It was part of my mental health healing, getting back to some of those things that made me feel full, that don't cost anything, that comes from here, And once I started doing it, I'm like, you know what? Let me see what this NFT thing was talking about.
For
So
sure.
I got with a couple NFT creators, and I started to create some things, and now we're on our way to launching a catalog of NFTs.
That's exciting.
I love that. I hope you include a version of the NFT where it's not just the digitized art that you do when maybe telling the story and thought process behind that, creating the art like you just did now. Like, if I were to film you saying exactly what the fuck you just said, drawing pieces of that art, including that in one of the NFTs, that's a home run.
Yeah, man.
You
we
can
love
have
that.
Yeah,
But that's fucking cool. Just hearing you tell it the way it is. And again, we're not big NFT nerds or anything.
Yeah.
Like, we love them. We appreciate them.
For sure.
But what you just said, the way you expressed it, packaging that in the digitized NFT, the consumer buying that NFT is obviously buying it because they know who you are. If they don't, just appreciate just the artistic aspect of it, but buying it with you telling the story of what's going through your mind as you're creating that piece. Hire a little videographer, boom, or you do it just you with your cell phone. That's probably the play, and package that in the actual NFT as well.
Yeah,
not all of them, but a couple for sure. You need to do exactly that.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think there's
gonna
definitely
do that,
value
Drew.
in the story behind
I don't think anyone's doing that, but that's a great fucking idea.
That's a great idea, Drew. That's a great
good
idea.
fucking idea.
I'm gonna do that, man.
Awesome,
But no one
man.
gives a fuck about me doing it, so
Yeah.
you need to do that for sure.
Well, awesome, man. We truly appreciate the time. I think that interview was incredible.
Time flew by the way. We can easily keep going for another hour. But
I know. Honestly, man, we got into some really cool elements of who Rashad Evans is, right? Beyond Sugar Rashad, which I think were super insightful. I think our listeners will love. Where can we find you? Sugar Rashad Evans on Instagram, anywhere else?
Yeah, Sugar Rashad Evans on Instagram. I'm gonna start getting back into it. I took a break from the social media for a little bit. I just became overwhelmed with it, but I'm gonna get back into it because I understand that a lot of people need to hear some of the things I gotta say. Not like I'm some kind of guru or anything like that, or trying to be a guru, but I feel like I can help people out,
100%.
and that's what I want to do.
I think just the things you said today are exactly what people need to hear, right? So we appreciate that.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
do you have a podcast?
No, not yet. I'm working on that too.
You better fucking come out with a podcast.
Yeah.
I'm working on that.
I would
soon.
do a podcast.
So stay tuned for Sugar's podcast coming.
And the NFT.
And the NFTs, and definitely the mushrooms that are coming out, right? That whole thing. We thank you guys for listening. The Residency Pod on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, The Residency Pod. We're out. We'll see you next week.
Love you guys.